Hi everyone, good morning. My name is Melanie Hapisu. I will be your trainer for the day. Just for purposes of introduction, I'll have my video on. My internet is a bit shaky, so I'll have to turn it off after. But I am founder and CEO of a digital marketing agency called Digipath Africa, where we work with businesses to help them make the best out of their digital marketing. And we do trainings as well, like this one. So I look forward to this session. Thank you for everyone who signed up. Thank you for the questions. There were many, but I hope we'll have some time to get through all of them since we just have an hour together. I'll share this recording afterwards. So in case anyone joins in late, you'll be able to hop on at whatever point. So today's conversation is around unleashing the power of marketing, especially for your businesses. And we'll do a run through right from discussing what it entails from setting up your accounts, up until the very end of running ads, looking at reports and all that. Of course, because of the limited amount of time, I may not take all questions, and that's why we asked for some of them prior, just so that they can be incorporated in whatever we're going to learn. But in case you have any as we go, please feel free to drop it on the chat. And of course, we can always come back to it at some point during the session. In case anything is not clear as well, feel free to flag it. In my sessions, I believe there are no wrong responses. So happy to hear contributions from different people. So welcome once again. What should you expect to learn by the end of this session? You get to understand deeper why exactly is social media very important for businesses, or let's look at it even from an overall perspective of digital marketing, not just social media alone, but all the rest in terms of email marketing, mobile marketing, and so on and so forth. You get to understand the basics of marketing principles, right from the very beginning. We'll get to talk a bit about, how you set up your social media accounts and what you should keep in mind when you're choosing them, not just being everywhere, because then other people in your industry are on all sorts of platforms. Then, of course, we'll talk about advertising fundamentals when it comes to social media advertising. So before we get through that, I'd love us to just engage in the chat. In a minute, let us know in the chat, what's the one social media platform you mostly use for your business marketing and why? Is it that it's what brings the money? Is it that it's what brings the leads? Is it the ones that brings you the most inquiries? Do you just like it? Let us know in the chat. Which social media channel do you majorly use to market your business, and possibly why? As I await responses for that, guys, engage in the chat. I personally, for my business, use LinkedIn a lot, and I can see someone in the chat as well has written LinkedIn. And the reason why I use LinkedIn for my business marketing is simply because it's what brings in the leads in terms of inquiries. For my business, LinkedIn has worked quite well, both from a personal perspective in terms of my personal LinkedIn account, as well as the company LinkedIn account, simply because maybe people are just relating to the content we're putting there. So you find we end up getting quite a lot of inquiries on that side. And so it's really, really encouraged me to keep using LinkedIn as, the direction of marketing for the business. Does that mean we're not on the other platforms? We are on the other platforms for different reasons. So for example, when we have free webinars like this one, most of the time then you'll find we'll talk about it on our Facebook. When we have paid trainings, maybe for group, initially we used to do individuals, but we don't do that anymore. Then Instagram would be, the good direction to go in. Our Twitter is more conversational. So I want you to be able to explain your different platforms for marketing that way. I can see Anthony in the chat saying LinkedIn, we're a jobs platform and want to connect to professionals. Great. Stacy says Instagram. I get good sales off Instagram compared to Facebook or TikTok. And as you can see, For some people, it may click the very first time you try to market. For others, it could be an experiment. Like you can see from Stacy's message, clearly she's tried out Facebook, she's tried out TikTok and realized, no, it's not bringing in as much sales as Instagram, or maybe not bringing any sales at all. I can see Mary saying LinkedIn and Instagram at the moment, still growing. I can see someone else say, WhatsApp business, I track responses and follow up after sales. Great. I can see Mary saying, looking forward to learn more about how to convert engagement into sales on platform. Definitely, that's something we'll talk about. So thank you to those who contributed. For those who haven't, don't worry, there'll be questions like those as we keep going. So be prepared to engage. So let's start from the basics. Why exactly is digital marketing as a whole important when it comes to business growth? You can see it in different ways. One, it gives an opportunity for increased visibility. Not all of us can afford to rent a billboard today. Not all of us can afford to have agents on the ground marketing the business, or hire influencers, or print out 100,000 flyers. Not all businesses can do that. And so what digital does is it enables you to use different platforms and get the opportunity to increase your visibility. Of course, it also gives you access to a global audience, depending on how you look at it. Sometimes you may realize you can achieve reaching people in other countries without even necessarily paying for sponsored ads, something that we'll talk about. But sometimes then you find majority of the people you reach are within your local area. But digital marketing as well, I think, gives you an opportunity to leverage on affordable paid advertising as compared to, say, the traditional billboards that we all know about. And why is all this important? Because then it's not a one method sort of approach when it comes to marketing. You'll realize that sometimes it will take a lot of experimentation to understand what exactly your target audience wants, which of course most business owners don't want to have time for. But little things like understanding your target audience comes in handy, because when you're creating content, you don't just want to be creating content for anybody, but specifically for the people who would actually be interested in your product or your service. In addition to that, you want to actually understand your target audience so that even as you build your following, you're building followers who are actually interested in what you have to offer, and people that you can sort of build a relationship with and eventually convert them. Think of all the people you have on your business page in terms of your followers like friends. It doesn't take a day to build a friendship. It takes some time. So when you're doing marketing, one thing that you learn is you require a lot of patience. Simply because this may work today, this may not work tomorrow, or it could be working for your competitor. When you try it out, you realize, oh no, this is probably not working. But the key thing when it comes to digital marketing is you have to monitor and analyze all of your efforts. Simply because if you do not measure, you're not able to know what is working and what is not. And where is the risk when it comes to that? You could end up doing the same thing that hasn't been working and end up wasting a lot of money, a lot of time, as well as a lot of effort. And that's why you hear many people talking about, do you have a digital marketing strategy? Think of that strategy as a map that basically tells you, this is what we should do, this is why you should do it, and this is exactly how you should do it. So if we're talking about Instagram marketing, for example, working for us when it comes to sales, does it only work when we have a promo, or does it always work whenever we're trying to sell, regardless of whether there's a discount or not? If you're using a platform like, let's say, email to market to people who are on your email marketing list, what's the approach? Are you sending one email per week? Are you sending 2 emails per week? Are you ensuring that your email subject is as intriguing as possible to get people to open it? Or how exactly are you looking at it? So I want you to think for a minute. Out of all the efforts you've made so far, when it comes to the different digital marketing efforts you've made, are you able to identify what is working? Are you able to identify what is not working? If you are, say yes on the chat. If not, maybe you can say, working on it or that sort of thing. I'd be interested to know, out of all the efforts you've been making, are you able to clearly tell what is working and what is not? So as we have those responses come in, a simple yes or no would be good, guys. Where does all this start? From the very beginning, when you start your business, it's important for you to analyze and see where exactly do I need to have a presence. Just because Melanie is marketing on TikTok does not necessarily mean you have to market on TikTok. It all goes back to your target audience. Just because I'm creating video content doesn't mean it would work for your business. A few minutes ago, I asked, are you able to identify what is working and what is not? I mean, there's a lot of silence. Should I assume things are not working? Sometimes that's the case, simply because when you started, then you actually did not start on a good note. You were not clear on who your target audience is. You were not clear on what kind of message you're trying to portray. Sometimes it's not even a marketing problem. It's a business problem. I can see someone in the chat saying, not yet, and that's okay. Most businesses, especially most small businesses, you find that they're actually not sure whether their efforts are working or not. And I want to take you back to measuring. Whether your efforts are working or not is not necessarily measured by just sales. It takes a journey to get to the final sale. Remember, I talked about your followers being your friends, and you're trying to build a friendship with them. So when you think of a sale, I want you to always think of yourself, which most business owners don't like to do. If you go to a shop today or there's a product that you want, what does your journey in terms of a customer look like? Do you find it today and buy it today, maybe because you are urgently in need? Do you find it today and maybe take a few months to save for it so that you can afford to buy it? Or are you those people who will find it online, but you really have to go to the shop itself to buy it in person? Think like that, because those are the different people you have in your target audiences. And as you think of all that, it's going to narrow down into how you communicate. You'll start noticing, maybe when I start promoting posts that have a discount for my products or services, that's when people buy. But does it mean you'll always have a discount for your business? Maybe not. You'll realize probably when you market a specific product or service out of the different range that you offer, people react better to that. For example, when we were doing individual trainings, lots of people would sign up. But when we'd have group trainings, people would not want that. And we later we did some digging and realized that people wanted a more one-on-one approach, which was okay. But eventually, when you do the math, it doesn't make sense for a business, because if we're looking to scale, how many one-on-one trainings are we going to do? So as you think of your marketing, think of how it's actually going to affect your business in the end. It's not just about making a decision and moving on from there. So when it comes to the very beginning, where can you find your target audience? Are they online? Are they offline? You'll notice for this conversation, we'll dwell a lot on online, because that's my specialty. So if they are online, are we talking about social media platforms? Are we talking about they are more email-oriented people? Are they people who, you probably find them more via a phone call or via a message? Or are you probably going to find them searching on Google, which is what you hear most people calling SEO? Why do you need to analyze that? Because if you don't get it right from the very beginning, in terms of platforms you should be on, you'll just be talking, and no one will be listening because your target audience is not there. Remember, there are so many brands speaking on these different digital platforms. What is going to make yours unique? We all hear about, why you should have a logo, why it's important to have interesting colors for your business. It all narrows down to how will people remember you. For some brands, people remember them more visually. But for others, it's more, what's their conversation like? So for example, for me, I follow KCB Bank on Facebook. And I don't bank with KCB. But why do I follow them? Every Friday or towards the end of the month, they do quite a lot of funny posts, either in terms of memes or just, relatable posts. Maybe it's almost end month, you have enough cash to get you to the end of the month, then maybe they'll plug a loan product, for example. You might be sitting there saying, okay, they've not converted you. You're just there, for fun to view their funny posts, but they're top of mind. So in case I ever have something that I know KCB is providing, who's going to come to mind first? Probably KCB. I can see in the chat, someone says, Static posts don't do as well. In terms of the question I had asked, do you know what is working? Do you know what is not in terms of your marketing? So someone says static posts don't do as well as the ones with influential people. Something else you need to understand about your target audience. What do they relate to content-wise? For some people, I've also realized for my personal LinkedIn page, when I put up a post that has my picture, it will do so well. But when I do one that doesn't have my picture, it will not do well at all. Someone else here says, earlier on, I set up a Twitter page and posted jobs there on a daily basis. I gained 45 followers in 10 weeks. I set up the LinkedIn page after 4 weeks. We haven't begun posting yet. We have gotten 45 followers just on title and platform alone. Totally possible. So for some platforms, it's a lot easier, to market your business, while others, it's a little bit difficult. But how do you get to identify this? Again, it's a journey of trying out things and realizing what has been working. The beauty about most of our businesses, you probably have competitors in your area that you think are doing a good job. That could be your first learning point. So in case you're sitting there wondering, oh, how do I get this information? Where do I even start? That's a good place to start. Look at what your competitors are doing in terms of their digital marketing. What seems to be working? If they're on social media, what platform seems to be working? Subscribe to their email lists, not just for purposes of you trying to see what you can steal, but I mean, you also never know what you might learn along the journey. Sometimes you may get very powerful ideas just from doing that. So that even as you're setting up your account, most of us will set up, name of the business and probably a bio. You put in a logo for those of us who have logos, but for some people, maybe you won't prioritize putting in a logo. That page can't just sit there empty and you expect to find clients. You need to consistently build a relationship by putting out content to ensure that people engage with it. And the biggest part about that side of putting out content, you have to put it out to human beings. So you need to look into strategies of how can you gain followers. The beauty about life now, you can do it organically, that's without paying, but you can also pay for it, of course, the right way, through ads, driving traffic to your page to see who is interested. I'm not a believer of buying followers. I know there are people who believe in that, but usually I say you're never sure if you're buying real people accounts or if you're buying bots. And you're never sure whether they'll follow you forever or they'll unfollow you. So you'd rather build your relationship from scratch. You will not get 100,000 followers today. I don't want to lie to you. You will not. But the more you keep building, the better it gets. With the introduction of video content, say in the form of Instagram Reels or TikTok videos, you'll realize that sometimes people who don't even follow you will see your content. How? Could be the algorithms effect and how it's basically showing content to people. Could also be a simple use of hashtags. So you adding on hashtags that are relevant to whatever product or service you are offering could actually come in handy when it comes to making sure that your business is actually visible on all fronts. So as you choose your platforms, number one thing is you have to understand your audience. You have to analyze what your competitors are doing. And just because they are not doing it, does it necessarily mean you shouldn't do it? No, unless your target audience is not on that platform. So it all goes back to target audience. As you choose your platform, you need to ask yourself, can you actually manage to create the kind of content that that platform prioritizes? Good example, TikTok. TikTok prioritizes video. Do you have the capacity to create video content, or is it just going to be a lot of work to actually manage a platform like that? There is no harm in starting small and building from there. So don't be in a hurry to join everything at the same time. And I'm sure that could be one of the challenges that we are facing. And that's why we're not able to actually tell which of our digital marketing efforts are working or not. So with that in mind, I'd love to know, is there a platform that you think your business should be on, but you find it very challenging to set up? If there's a platform like that, just type the platform on the chat, and then we can talk about it in a few. Is there a platform that you think your business should actually be on, but you're really struggling with figuring out, how do you even get started with that platform? If there's any, please write the name of the platform on the chat. Could be social media. You can mention a specific one. Could be other elements of digital marketing. I've mentioned SEO, I've mentioned email marketing, mobile marketing. Let's just each mention one on the chart. All right, I can see LinkedIn, which I expected. Let's keep it coming. I see WhatsApp channels. Let's keep going. I can see someone has added SEO. Any other? I'll give people a few minutes to just add that on. What channel do you think you should be on as a business that you're finding a little bit challenging to even get started on? For those who joined in late, feel free to contribute in the chat. And if there are any questions along the way regarding what we're talking about in terms of clarification, you can also paste them there. So I think I'll get started with what we have. We have LinkedIn, WhatsApp channels, SEO, Facebook, email marketing. I can see TikTok. Great. So I'll first start off with LinkedIn. Biggest challenge when it comes to LinkedIn is when every brand is joining LinkedIn, whether it's from a personal perspective or from a business perspective. Most times we come with a very serious mindset of, LinkedIn is a serious place, I can't make jokes and, I have to be very serious and professional, which is okay. It's a professional platform. But at the end of the day, every brand has a tone or a voice, in terms of how you speak to your target audience or how you'd love people to imagine you speak. That's something that is very common when it comes to digital marketing efforts. And when you think of all that, then it's very necessary to ask yourself, how do you want to represent your brand on a platform like LinkedIn, both from a personal perspective as well as a business perspective? For the personal perspective, make it more relatable to you as the founder of the business. What do I mean as you? People are more likely to listen and believe you as the founder because they've sort of been able to put a human to it, as compared to a page where for them it's a little bit distant, but you can still make it human depending on how you actually position your writing on LinkedIn. You will find most people will tell you the easiest way to start on a personal LinkedIn platform is to reshare the relevant things you find from your business page. So if you have a LinkedIn business page, step one could be resharing, Step two, as a founder, could be talking about things that, are probably interesting to you as a founder or a little bit about your business. And one of the things I'll do on the chat, I'll share a link to my LinkedIn platform and you guys can have a look. Feel free to just follow and, check out some of the posts I do. I have a range of posts, right? From events I'm being a part of to maybe things that are going on in my business, updates, challenges, and all that. That's what I've chosen to do with my space. I can be as free as I'd like. I can be as vulnerable as I like. It's all up to you. Again, it all comes back to your audience. How did I discover what my audience likes on LinkedIn, both for the business page as well as for my personal page? Experimentation. I remember for my personal page, I think that's where I've done the most experimentation. Recently, in fact, I've been experimenting on videos, which I've seen have done quite well. I did a lot of videos. I did a lot of book reviews, movie reviews. I talked a lot about events I would speak at. I would also talk a lot about my experiences in business, especially when I started off my business. And eventually I used to narrow down at the end of the month. Let's see what worked and how can I know it worked? Is it that people interacted with it the most? Or is it that this is what got the most reshares? Ask yourself questions like those. And all those lessons could apply to all of these platforms that then we're talking about. So pick whatever I've said and spread it across the platforms where necessary. Someone else mentioned WhatsApp channels. So WhatsApp channels is rather new, but I like to tell people, think of it as your group. more like an update section on WhatsApp. But ask yourself, what is it that you're going to be telling people and what do you want them to do? Most of us here, I'm sure, are in groups or have WhatsApp groups where almost no one engages. Why? You need to dig deeper and analyze and see, is it that maybe you're not giving people a reason to be there? You know, maybe I joined the group for this reason and that reason is no longer serving me. So when it comes to channels, in as much as it's rather new, in as much as you're telling people something, what action do you want out of it? And you need to think of that when it comes to all these platforms we're talking about. It's not just about you. Many people actually make it about them and their business. And I think that's one problem that many people experience when it comes to SEO. So for those who are new, SEO is search engine optimization. Basically, where does your website rank when people do different searches? Either a search to do with your business, maybe let's say out of the products or services you offer, or even a search with your business name. You know, where do you actually rank? So sometimes you could find someone putting in the link to their website on an SEO checker, and I'll share one on the chat. And basically an SEO checker is just a tool where you copy paste the link to your website and it's able to assess and tell you where do you fall SEO-wise, how findable are you in the form of a percentage. I know for many brands, that's where we think about ourselves. Everybody wants to be number one when someone does a Google search for something, but who's going to be last? You know, and I'm not saying that you should be comfortable to take the last position. No, don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, there has to be a number one and there has to be someone who's last. And when it comes to SEO efforts, it's not just a matter of having a website. It comes down to, are the wordings in your website actually relatable to your target audience? Is that how they search? Today, if I search for what is digital marketing, Google is going to go and look for websites that talk about what is digital marketing. It's going to look at the links to the websites. Does it have any of those terms? It's going to look at the way the pages have been named. It's going to look into the paragraphs. It's going to look into the images. So when you're building your website, you have to keep all that in mind. How are you naming your website pages? How are you naming your website images? Just to ensure you are more and more findable. Something else, Facebook. I think Facebook is a free space. Most of the time, almost anything works. I think it's a good ground for experimentation. So usually I say for businesses, if you'd like to experiment, Facebook is a really good platform to do that with different types of content and sort of see what works for your business and what doesn't. For email marketing, a hard one to crack. But usually I say, once you crack how to get people to open your emails, that's it. And what does that entail? Having a really intriguing email subject. Think of yourself, even when you look at your work email, most of the time you open because of either the person it's from or because of the email subject. If the email subject has something like urgent, of course you'll open it because you think it's needed urgently. So as you come up with ideas for email marketing for your business, make it as relatable as possible. Ask yourself, if someone bumped into this content on their email, would they actually open? Because the email preview is very little. So the email subject is what, could get someone to open or not open that email. Ask yourself that and keep building on it. Will everybody open your email? Probably not. Just the same way in our WhatsApp group, will everyone contribute? Probably not. Will everyone reply your message? Probably not. So have that in mind. This lie that we like to live in as business owners of everything we do will always work and everybody will take part is not true. Even from a social media perspective, out of all the followers you have, even though you have 100,000 of them, only 10% will engage with your content out of the 100%. So at the end of the day, would you rather have a lot of traffic that is not going to do anything, or would you rather have little quality traffic that is actually going to engage and take action? And that is so important because we are living in a time where today Instagram is popular, tomorrow it's not. I saw Anthony in the chat mention TikTok. And to avoid being boring, that's something that you have to fear as a business owner. Today you'll be posting videos people will relate to, next month it becomes boring. They want something else. So how do you ensure you're always keeping yourself on toes with different things that are happening, keeping up with trends? A platform like TikTok now, especially for product-based businesses that you can see, people are, into very short reviews. It's no longer about having longer reviews. If you're into something like, let's say, travel, people are into quality travel content, transitions, good music, good visuals captured. If you're into service, yes, people are doing videos talking about their services, but how short are they? We're getting into a period where short content is being prioritized. The other day, I had an influencer who has a YouTube channel just talking about how she had to now make her videos very short on YouTube. So you're finding lots of people having 5-minute, 7-minute videos on YouTube, while at the same time, we're having people who are having 1 hour, 1 hour and a half videos. So there's no more in the middle with YouTube. It's either you have something very long or something that's very short. So again, keep yourself updated when it comes to trends. I have a website that I use personally to keep up with digital marketing trends. I think it's called Flipboard, and they have a really good app where you can set up notifications just to be alerted when there are new things, either in your industry or, in relation to digital marketing. I've just shared the link on the chat, and you'll be so surprised. Something that would have taken you an hour or more for research doesn't have to, because of a tool like Flipboard. So I'll encourage you guys, make the best out of everything that you find out here. Something as simple as Googling, could make a difference. I saw when it came to many of the questions that we had when people were signing up for this specific session were around how to run social media ads. And it was quite interesting because then that's usually the question that is asked the most, regardless of the different trainings that I have. But when you ask the different people, have you ever tried it? Have you ever read about it? Have you ever tried to watch a YouTube video on how to set up an ad? Most of the time, then they haven't. So make use of the digital resources. We have quite a lot now. I tell people, for those of us who don't like to use Google, there's such a growth in people who search on TikTok. Look for a video on TikTok, how to set ads. It will be probably, 10, 15 seconds long, and you'll have gotten the concept. So in case you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to watch those long 20-minute YouTube videos, maybe not. You don't have to watch it. But at the end of the day, these resources really, really come in handy. And speaking of social media advertising, which we'll get to in a minute, I want you to think of the number of ads you probably see in a day. There are probably very many. And I want you to ask yourself, out of all those advertisements that you see, especially the paid ones, do you usually take any action? I know for me personally, I'm quite a follower of Oraimo, a company that sells accessories for, mobile phones, computers, etc. And I know every single day when I scroll on my Instagram, they really serve me with many ads. Do I take action every day? No. But I can assure you, for example, 2 months ago, I bought a vacuum cleaner from Oraimo, simply because they've been top of mind. I've been seeing that vacuum cleaner, and as soon as they had a discount, who was at the back of my mind? Oraimo. So sometimes you might be thinking, my ads are not working, but they're probably working. People are just not ready to purchase right now. Or it could not be working for a specific reason, depending on the action you wanted people to take. Say you wanted to increase more inquiries by directing people to the DM to inquire. If you get 0 inquiries, something is wrong. So it just doesn't always mean that you should sit there and be comfortable that you're spending money and nothing is happening. I talked about the journey, the sales journey, when it comes to clients, which I think is very important, specifically when we talk about this conversation of social media advertising. Why? Because most of us are sponsoring ads on social media, putting a big budget, and then in the end, the advertisement doesn't work. Why? Simply because, one, let's say I was driving people to my website to purchase online. When they visit my website, first of all, my website is so slow. Second of all, my website, has no reviews, for example, so people are not very comfortable to trust my business and, know that I'll do a good job for them. Or maybe let's say I direct people to DMs. People inquire on DMs, they get responses after 24 hours, 48 hours. That already puts me out. I'll tell you, for me as Melanie, I'm a very, I don't know, I think most of us are interesting shoppers. Let me call myself that. So today, if I'm inquiring for something, I'll probably inquire for it from 3 different shops. And whoever responds first is the one I'll take. So for me, it's not a matter of price. For someone else, it could be a matter of price. They'll wait to get the cheapest person. So always ask yourself that. What if you were not the only company that this consumer actually sent a DM to? And here you are replying after 24 hours. Ask yourself that. For some of us, our DMs are just for responding purposes. So someone will ask, is this available? All you do is tell them yes. Instead of telling them something like, yes, when would you be interested in purchasing? Here are the payment details. Something like, tell me once you make your payment. So it's not just about responding, especially when you're running social media ads because you get a lot of traffic. It's about responding with an aim of getting these people to convert. Remember, at the back of that screen, you are the marketer, you are also the salesperson, especially if you're a business owner doing it on your own. But if you have the privilege to work with someone who brings the traffic and then you now do the sales, the better. And that's why I usually tell people, when you hire a social media manager, be very careful about the tasks you give them. Most of the time, our work is not sales. Our work is bringing the quality traffic. And the conversion now depends on a number of things. So is it you as the business owner responding? Is it me responding? And feel free to work in collaboration with your social media managers to come up with responses that could actually get people to convert. So don't feel like you have to do this on your own. You know, it's something that you can actually build on, because advertising, yes, online is affordable. You can run ads on Facebook, say Instagram, Twitter, Google Ads for as low as $1 a day. But a platform like LinkedIn, you need to spend a minimum of $10, which is not little money. So are you willing to spend that money and just lose it? No. Of course, people have different reasons for running ads, but usually I say follow the journey. As a business, you need to create awareness. Once people know about you, you need to now create both awareness and get people to be interested. Well, how will you know they're interested? Are you driving them to your website? Are you driving them to inquire? After interest, what are you doing to actually affect the decision of this person? Are you having discounts? Are you following up with them to see if they bought? You need to make it a journey to get to that very end of having this customer convert. Always remember, again, it goes back to the consumer, even when it comes to ads. For some people, they'll only buy when you have a discount. It's sad, but it's the reality. So always have that in mind. Just because you've set up an ad doesn't mean that everybody will purchase. But in one way or another, you can work around convincing these people to make a purchase. And that's why you have the freedom to do different kinds of ads. For some people, it's static designs that will work. For other people, maybe it's a video, especially for service-based businesses. People want to meet you, the person who's delivering the service itself, especially if you're in a space like mine, training, coaching, and so on and so forth. People want to meet the person who'll be delivering the specific service. So even as you think of your ads, think around that. There's no need of you spending a lot of money when you've not figured out what is working. So even as you run your ads, start with minimum budget. The $1 a day that I'm talking about sounds little, but when you look at the estimates of results, depending on the platform you're utilizing, you'll be surprised how many people you can reach. Then refine from there. What's the need of you spending $100 a day, and yet you know very well there are no conversions that are coming in? So build slowly from a minimum budget, build on it, see what is working, see what is not, and then based on that, everything else you can readjust as time goes by. I know social media advertising is a touchy topic, but I hope we're feeling somehow better around it. If you are, please give me a thumbs up or a yes on the chat. If not, maybe give me a thumbs down and a maybe in the chat. How are we feeling? Just based on that little that I've talked about social media advertising. Thank you. I can see some thumbs up. Great, guys. Are we still here? How are we feeling? Thank you for those who are engaging so far. Amazing. So it's nice to see there are lots of thumbs ups. Don't worry, in case someone else needs some clarity, I think I've shared a few resources that can come in handy, but don't worry about it. We'll keep talking about it. So today was basically just to give you an intro and some insights around different things or different ways you can improve your marketing, just to ensure that the mistakes you've been making so far don't have to be made. I know for many business owners, you end up, what can I say, doing something unknowingly, and then, later you come to regret. I've bumped into very many businesses that will say something like, I spent over 100,000 on marketing and got no results. Why should I trust you? So you're almost carrying your client's trauma, just because they worked with social media marketer A and things did not go well. So don't worry, most of those things will be readjusted by the time we are finishing with this session. So as I wind up on the conversation of ads, important things to note, even as you pay money to sponsor an advertisement, is one, you need to decide what will the content of that advertisement be? What are you trying to communicate? What action do you think or do you want people to take? Who are you targeting? Because at some point when you're setting up the ads, you get to choose your target audience. All those things are important because all those things affect your conversion rate. You could be not converting people, not because you did not set an ad, but simply because you chose the wrong target audience. For those of us who've run ads for some time, there's something called over-targeting or under-targeting, where sometimes the fishnet you're throwing is too big, so they're not even sure who to show the ad. Sometimes it's too small, you've over-narrowed down, maybe you've put too many interests, and so you're probably going to reach a very small amount of people. So sometimes you find you have to open it up. It's not a crime to put interests on your ads. It's actually a very good thing, but you need to be very careful not to overdo it, so that then you're now affecting the performance of your ad. I've talked about thinking of the overall journey. We're saying no to responding to people after 24 hours. We are saying no to having slow websites, simply because those little things are the ones that actually affect conversion rates. We are also saying no to dreaming that just because we run ads, we'll have more people visiting our page, which means we'll have more followers. Not necessarily. You may have more people viewing the content of your ad, but not necessarily all of them will follow your page. Ask yourself, and I think a common question that I like to ask business owners, when we go to events and we tell people, follow our page on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, are you posting the same content across all the platforms? Probably yes. And if you are, why should I follow you on all? I'm going to see the same content on Facebook. Why should I just satisfy the fact that you want many followers on your platforms while you're not giving me a variety of content to make me follow you on different platforms? And that's why I started with the question of, do you actually know which platform works for your business in terms of marketing and why? So if you're not able to identify that, then there's a problem. You're probably going to be those people who are telling people to follow you everywhere, and yet you're putting out the same content. And I know content creation is something hard. One of the questions I remember from the signups was around creating a social media marketing calendar. Trust me, yes, it's not easy. But the beauty about the world we live in now, you have many AI tools that you can collaborate with to help you create content, or even to give you ideas of content. Sometimes maybe it's better for you to reduce on the number of posts you're putting out rather than having too many, and then you end up feeling like you don't have time to create for the other platforms. Always ask yourself, what exactly will work in my calendar for platform A, for platform B, and platform C, and how often? Being consistent doesn't necessarily mean that you post every day. It could mean that you post every Monday at 10 a.m. and people have something to look forward to when it comes to that. Some of us, I'm sure, have heard of an influencer called Just Ivy. Every Monday, she has something called Money Mondays. It's a conversation around money, different aspects of it. Many people, myself included, forward to Monday simply because we'll go to her Instagram stories and see more about that. I'll paste the link on the chat. So what has she made us get used to, that every Monday consistently, she has this conversation called Money Mondays. So even when she's not in the mood and she doesn't want to do it, she will have to excuse herself in advance, simply because she knows how many people are actually looking forward to this conversation around Money Mondays. So far, how are we feeling? I think I'd love to open the floor for a few people to give some comments. Helpful, not helpful, maybe we can hear from two. I'll choose randomly, maybe Mary Njoki and Anthony Muni. How are you feeling based on the conversation so far? Mary, maybe we can start with you.
Okay, hi Melanie, and hi everyone. I'm feeling a bit more confident, or rather empowered, with more knowledge than I had. Especially, I was writing notes, and I have written my say no to in red. So say no to replying after 24 hours, and expecting followers to increase just because of ads. I think that leaves me in an empowered state, because now I am able to manage my expectations as a business, and then I'm also looking at it from the customer's perspective. Because as you say, if I am responding to someone after 24 hours and someone else is taking 10 minutes to respond, definitely they'll go with the person who's taking a shorter response rate. So yeah, I have a few takeaways, and I am a bit more confident now in the journey that we are taking as a company. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mary. I'm glad. Anthony?
Thank you, Melanie. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm feeling fantastic. Honestly, this session I feel like it's taken me back to campus, because I'm sitting here, I'm typing ferociously like notes, and I'm taking notes like I was in campus. So there's so much I've learned. I've learned a lot about where situations where advertising doesn't work and why. I think I like how you've broken down like some of the success tips for different platforms. And I think that's very interesting. I think, yeah, I'm really, really looking to I have a number of questions, but I'm really, really looking to learn a lot more. I also really take on board the point you made about pacing yourself slowly. I think I'm one of those people who's at risk of maybe trying to go so extreme with, okay, let's do $100 budget for ads. But I think what you said is very useful, just to do $1 a day, figure out what's working, and then scale up your ad spend from there once you know what has fit. So no, it's extremely very, very illuminating.
Amazing. I'm so glad. I know there are probably many other questions that have come up. Don't worry, I will give you my work number on the chat. Please feel free to WhatsApp, specifically WhatsApp. I don't think it's on, but my WhatsApp is on. So feel free to just WhatsApp any questions you may have there, and we can see how I can, quickly answer you, or how we can always organize another session like this to answer that. I've pasted my number on the chat. For those of us who would like to take it, please take it from there. For those of you who've connected on LinkedIn, I'm also quite active there, so we can always chat on that side. I'm totally okay with that. So as we wind up, I have a few more interesting questions that came up that I'd just like to go through, just in case it benefits one or two of us. We've talked a lot about ads. How do you pay for ads? Depending on the platform you're using, you'll find a platform like Facebook. Initially, they only accepted debit or credit card or PayPal. But now in our market, they introduced M-Pesa in Kenya. And so you find M-Pesa is an option. However, what happens is that it's a prepayment. So you'll have to load the account with money, and then the advert will run, as compared to a card where you can pay after, say, at the end of the month or something. So it depends with how you want to approach all of this. So it's possible to use different payment methods. If you don't have a card and you're worried about using your card, I'm sure if you go to your bank and talk to them, some banks have prepaid cards where it can specifically be a card that you load and it's specifically used for ads, so you don't have to interfere with your day-to-day normal bank card. So think about that. Something else that someone asked that was quite interesting, we've talked about all these wonderful ways of marketing and how digital marketing can allow you to reach far and wide. But for a startup that hasn't scaled, how then do you ensure you manage that you can actually keep up with, this far-reaching demand? One, take it in small sizes. Like I've said, a lot of experimentation is involved. Same thing, target just within where you can currently reach and grow from there. There's no need of you saying you do global or worldwide deliveries when you don't. So take it a step at a time. I know for my business, that's one thing that has helped me scale. At some point, I think last year, I used to run quite a lot of, what do we call it? Webinars, free webinars per month. And one of the things I'll share in the chat is a link to the many free things that I have. So in case you feel like you'd love to, bump into any of them, some of them are pre-recorded webinars, some of them are upcoming ones, some of them are live trainings. Feel free to jump on them. I have both free and paid. So these links that I'm going to be sharing in the chat will, have a lot of that. I think I'm quite a giver, so feel free to see that. I can see someone saying free of charge for questions. Yes, free of charge for questions on WhatsApp. As long as you can just type them on the chat, we can see how many we can answer. And of course, if it gets to a point where we need further consultation, I'll let you know. And the beauty about that is the people who've attended this session actually get a discount on my consultation simply just for attending. So I think that will be a plus for the rest of us. So far, I think we've covered majority of the questions that had been asked. Some of them are quite repetitive. I think I've dealt a lot with target audience. Whether you're targeting B2C, some of these things you need to have in mind. Of course, when you think of platforms like social media, most of the time it's B2C oriented. But if you're targeting B2B, there are also strategies for that. Email marketing is one of the ways we've talked about. Another way that I personally use for my business is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn has something called LinkedIn Sales Navigator. It's basically a tool that you can use to reach out to leads and rearrange them, although it's not free. But if you're looking for a free way to do it manually, you can always come up with a list of companies. For my business, I have a dream list of businesses that I'd love to work with. And I keep trying to reach out to either their marketing managers or their CEOs through LinkedIn for them to actually work together. Most of the time, it's more impactful when it comes from my account as the CEO. So sometimes you'll find even the person who helps me with sales ends up using my account to actually reach out, and that comes in handy. So you'll find when it comes to digital, most of the solutions are B2C oriented. But for those of us who would like to have B2B conversations, happy to have that on the side and see what suggestions I can give. But maybe also you can look at the many resources that I've shared in the chat around the different links that I've sent. And you never know what help you might actually get. So for me, I think that is it. I would love to take maybe a few burning questions, if there are any, maybe for the next 2 or so minutes. So yeah, maybe I'll allow one question from each person. So maybe I'll allow a few people to maybe just raise their hands so that we have a bit of order on the Zoom, and then we can tackle that. But for myself, in terms of what I had planned to deliver in that short time, I hope I have done justice. Yeah, but yes, I'm opening the floor to questions, if any. As we wait for some hands, for those who attended, I have 2 offers for you. I'm giving a 30% discount off on a 1-hour consultation with me, or rather what I call a pick my brain session. Usually I charge 5,000 Kenya shillings, but for today with the discount, I will be charging 3,500. I also have another offer for a digital marketing audit for your business, which I usually charge 10,000 Kenya shillings, but for today with the 30% discount, I will charge 7,000. Please note that this is if you take the offer before 1st of March. So please, 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 if you're interested in any of those offers, I'm pasting them in the chat. There's also a form that you can fill in the chat in case you're interested, and we can pick up the conversation from there. For those of us who love free things like myself, I had shared my WhatsApp number on the chat. It's 0770-915-715. Please WhatsApp me on that side, and I will be happy to answer your questions on that side. So I'll give it another minute. If there's any question, please raise your hand. I can see Mary in the chat saying, thank you for the insightful tips. I've gotten a few takeaways, amazing. I'll also put in the thoughts that I've shared into maybe a one-page, one-word document and share, as well as the recording for those of us who joined late, so that in case you'd like to have and refer to that later, then of course, you'll always have that with you. And of course, I'll also post the offers that I've put in on the chat. So in case you've not been able to open any of the links, I'll share all of these things that I've mentioned on the email. And then, yeah, we can talk from there. I can see Stacy saying, thank you so much for your time. This was very reassuring. As business owners, we tend to doubt or second guess ourselves. Answering questions made me feel like I have a solid understanding of your business. Great. You are most welcome. Thank you, Anthony. I've seen your comment as well. So I guess I will see some of you on the other side. Thank you so much for everyone who managed to join in. Have a lovely, lovely day.
Thanks so much, Melanie.
Welcome.
Have a good day, Melanie.
You too. Bye. I'll be ending the call in a minute. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.